Alright, today we are going to start our notes on our microbiology and biotechnology unit. We're going to review the cells. We're going to look at how life is classified in this unit. We're going to talk about all of the different kingdoms. We're going to talk about how microorganisms impact living things, what their important roles are in nature, and how some can cause disease as well. We're also going to look at how manipulating genes and using bacteria and viruses, we can improve the quality of life, which is what biotechnology is. And we're going to start today with our sixth kingdom, foldable. Now, we just watched the Brain Pop video about the classification of life and how it is organized into domains and kingdoms and phylums and on down the list, and we'll talk about all of those in a second. But first, I want you to take your foldable and I want you to do a shutter fold, which means you want to make some double front doors. So fold in your double front doors and let them meet in the middle of your paper. Okay, so the reason we classify is we want to make sense. There's so many, thousands upon thousands of living things. That includes plants, it includes a microorganism, it includes all the different animals, it includes fungi. So many different organisms. So classification is a way to divide organisms into groups based on their similar characteristics. Scientists around the world try to classify. There's approximately 2 million organisms that have been identified and named to date. The most recent census of the ocean estimates that there are many more that we have not found. Estimates suggest that there are probably anywhere between 5 and 30 million organisms. So that's a lot more than we know. 2/3 of the organisms that we have identified are insects. And 99% of all the species that have been identified are smaller than a bumblebee. So think about the size of a bumblebee, no bigger than the end of your thumb. In the 1600s, scientists made their first attempt at classification, and they basically said there were two groups, plants and animals, things that they could be seen. Now the microscope, if you remember from 7th grade, was invented some beginning in the late 1600s. Leeuwenhoek, Robert Hooke were some of the people who were involved in that. And so when we began seeing that there were things smaller than what we could see with the naked eye, classification began to expand. And in the 1700s, Linnaeus founded the modern system that we use, and it's called taxonomy. And taxonomy is the science of classifying, describing, and naming living things. He tried to classify based on their shape and their structure. And he came up with a 7-level system: the kingdom, the phylum, the class, the order, the family, the genus, the species. You can remember that with the mnemonic: kings play chess on fine gold sets, or King Philip can order fun, games, and sports. That's the way I learned it in high school. Today, we recognize that there's actually another 8th part of the classification system, and that is the domain. And the domains would be the prokaryotes, which are organisms that do not have an organized nucleus, like bacteria, and eukaryotes, which are organisms that have cells with an organized nucleus, and that would pretty much be everything else. The more shared characteristics an organism has, the more closely they are related. So let's look and see what the 6 kingdoms are. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to open your foldable up, and you are going to take notes on the inside tab under each of these. So you see you've got the archaebacteria, the eubacteria, the fungi, the protists, the animals, and the plants. And that's just the Latin words for what I just said in English. It's on the front because the taxonomy system is based on Latin. So if you will turn underside on the right upper corner, you've got the archaebacteria. And each time we're going to put down something about the structure of the cell, if it's a unicellular or multicellular organism, how it gets food or makes food, and characteristics. So you don't have to write cell structure, cells, and characteristics each time, or the word example, but you do want to write what's on the right side of the colon each time. So the archaebacteria are prokaryotes. They have no nucleus. They are all unicellular, which means they are a single cell. They're both autotrophs and heterotrophs, and autotrophs can automatically feed themselves. They carry out photosynthesis or chemical synthesis. And heterotrophs have to they can't make food. They have to eat food. So they either eat plants, eat other microorganisms, scavenge for dead, decaying tissue, eat animals. They are heterotrophic. They cannot make their own food. The archaebacteria, and arch means first, so they are the ancient old bacteria. They're the ones who've been around as long as life has been on the earth. They have been able to survive all the catastrophic changes. They've been able to live in extreme environments. So they can live in desert conditions. They can live in the deep ocean where it's extremely cold and no sunlight. They can live near the hydrothermal vents. They can live in the Antarctic. So they can live in the extreme characteristics. And at one time, all the bacteria was classified together. It was called the Monera kingdom. But we now know that these archaebacteria are a little bit different from the other bacteria. They live only in harsh environments, and they have survived since the beginning of life on the earth. Now, if you will look at the upper left, we're going to do the eubacteria, or the true bacteria. They're the common bacteria. They're the bacteria that are right now in your skin, in your gut, in the soil, airborne, in the water. They are prokaryotic as well. They have no organized nucleus. Their DNA is just floating in the cytoplasm. The nucleus is not bound. They are also unicellular. They can be autotrophic or heterotrophic again. And E. coli, which lives in mammal large intestines to help you finish the digestion of your solid food waste, are example of the eubacteria. Then we have the Protist kingdom. And the Protist kingdom can be called the odds and ends kingdom. Everything that is small, that couldn't fit in bacteria or fungi or plant or animal, kind of ended up here. They are eukaryotic in that they have a nucleus. Most are unicellular, but some are multicellular. For example, all of your algae fall in this category, and we know that green algae is pretty much microscopic and unicellular, but the brown algae, like the kelp that grows in the ocean, colder waters, can be hundreds of feet tall, these giant stalks of brown algae. So they can be plant-like and be autotrophic, or they can either be animal-like or fungus-like and be heterotrophic, whether they have to eat another organism for survival. Their characteristics, again, the odds and ends kingdom is a good description, that varies. It is great. And you studied these last year in 7th grade, so you might remember the Euglena, which is a plant-like autotroph, single-celled organism, or the Paramecium, which is animal-like, or the amoeba, which is animal-like, or different molds and mildews, which are fungus-like. Now, fungi, they also have a nucleus, so they are eukaryotes. Again, they can be unicellular or multicellular. They release special enzymes to digest their food. So the way they digest food is unique, and they are heterotrophs in that they have to eat food they can't make their own. And mushrooms are a great example of fungi. Then we have the plant kingdom. they're also eukaryotes. They have a nucleus. They are multicellular. They are autotrophic, and they carry out photosynthesis. They also they have the cell wall and the chloroplast as unique organelles. In the chloroplast is where photosynthesis takes place. And fern, trees, flowering plants, all of those would be examples of members of the plant kingdom. Then we have the animal kingdom. They're also eukaryotes. They all have a nucleus. They are multicellular. They cannot make their own food, so they're heterotrophic. Characteristics, great variety. That's why we have different phylums of organisms and classes of organisms under the animal kingdom. You've got your insects, you've got your amphibians, you've got your reptiles, you've got your fish, you've got your mollusk, you've got your Homo sapiens or human beings, you've got your mammals. You've got lots and lots of different classifications within the animal kingdom, and each of those makes some of the different variety of characteristics that you find. Now, we finished our notes. So if you, again, you've got your foldable wide open. You see the black lines that are drawn. You want to cut between eubacteria and fungi, between fungi and animal, between archaebacteria and protist, and between protist and plants. So that's going to give you 6 shutters. And then you have got a page of pictures to match and put underneath the appropriate heading. So when I am looking at my pictures, the example of the archaebacteria was the Pyrococcus furious, and coccus just means that the bacteria is round. Pyro means fire. So this one can live in extreme desert conditions. So that picture I'm going to cut out and I'm going to put behind the word archaebacteria. E. coli, which is rod-shaped bacteria, was the example of the eubacteria, or the true bacteria. And so I'm going to cut out that picture and put it underneath eubacteria. Now, do I want to keep the name? That's up to you. Sometimes I think the name, like Pyrococcus furious, my typing's made it too big to cut out and fit under there, so you might want to write that in smaller letters, or you're welcome to cut it out if you can make it fit. But right now I need you to get your pictures done, and then I'm going to bring you a set of kingdom classifications for you to work on. You've got 12 statements, and you're going to have to read the characteristics under the statements and decide if it is what kingdom it's in. So if you will get the kingdom done today, and if you get finished with that, you can start seeing if you can match it to the organisms. I've got some color pictures for you to look at to be able to help you do the second part. But you want to decide which of the 6 kingdoms it goes in first. And then you want to look for the clues to see if you can match it to its pictures.